This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to the, in theory, sunrise safari. It is still absolutely pitch dark out here, but the birds are singing, so dawn must be on its way. My name is Jamie, and this morning, Batman Craig is on camera with me, and we're coming to you live from the beautiful Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. That bird's very happy as well. It's chirping away quite merrily. This is a live safari, which means that you can send through your questions, and you can do that on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Alternatively, you can do it on the YouTube chat stream. Now, it really is quite beautiful. We'll stop and listen to the sounds when there's a sunrise to look at, but there isn't one yet. We are still, judging by my slightly green monitor glow, still in infrared because it is dark, which means that for us it's a change of seasons. Time is marching on. For most of you, that means your long winters might be coming to an end, or at least there's vague light at the end of the tunnel. For those of you watching in the southern hemisphere, well, winter's not here, obviously, given that it's still January, but there's a hint that it might be on its way. Now, this morning's plan, I'm out in the vehicle, obviously, and James will be out on foot this morning. We will, of course, be joined by David in the Masai Mara as well. And my plan is to go to the southeastern corner of Djuma, where I have this sort of vague impression that maybe the hyena den is there, but to be honest, it's still a good place to go because there were leopard tracks there yesterday, there were lions on Nkoro yesterday, which means that there's a chance, a vague chance, that we'll bump into something. Yesterday I bumped into absolutely nothing except some warthogs. A lovely warthog piglet sighting, but other than that we saw very, very little. I stopped for everything I saw. I think I stopped about 3 times. So, you know. One thing I did notice was that there were female leopard tracks coming in this direction as well. So there's plenty to look forward to on this bright and beautiful morning. It is a chilly 19 degrees centigrade, 66 in Fahrenheit. And I always feel a little bit when I say the temperatures like this, like I'm on a morning breakfast show. Without the breakfast, though, or the recipe segments. Okay, while I contemplate and chew on that, off you go across to David. He's probably in the dark as well, but I'm sure he'd like to say hello.
A very good morning, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to our drive this morning from the Mara Triangle in Kenya. My name is David, and with me on camera is Bungei, and I'm not sure Bungei just spotted something there which you think should be a savocat. Let's find out if you might see her. But the small little eyes we saw in the bushes there. Let me first put on my spotlight and so that we can relocate her. And we saw some eyes around that area. She must have disappeared, and I guess it must have been a savocat. I'm very convinced it was. Oh, there, Bungei. You see there? She's just laying down there where my torch is. Okay, I'm going to switch it off and see if they're going to see any eyes there. And it's definitely a savocat, no doubt about it. Yes, you can see one eye. Then she is a bit shy. She's bending. That small glare you see there is a savocat. We're just waiting to see. There she moves. She's just running away, not sure for a reason, but yeah, it's quite dark here. There she is, not very clear. We are definitely in black and white, and I'm talking of us being in infrared. You can see her moving through the tall grass. Very well done. Thank you, Savocat, and well done, Bungei. And the grass is just waving and moving a little bit because of the slight wind that you have at the moment. And what a lovely start to see a Savocat this early. This early, because it's still a bit chilly here. We are talking of 62 degrees Fahrenheit and 17 degrees Celsius. Yeah, that's amazing. And what a start, you know, for us to see Savocat this early is pretty special. My plans today are going to look for the sausage tree pride, my favorite pride of lions, and hopefully we are going to see them. And again, as I said, cold 17 degrees Celsius at 62 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. Lee, you're making my life hard. I just gave you a savocat. Stay with the savocat for now. But I was surprised to see a savocat, Lee, this morning. So should I be lucky to get a caracal? Why not? Just stay tuned, keep watching, and cross fingers. I mean, I've always heard my friend Sydney saying, you come out here and you'll always see the unexpected. I'm definitely sure my friend Jamie told you, you know, our safari is always very interactive. So should you have any questions, any comments, please send them through hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So what I do, I get my spotlight, left and right, light and left, and keep chanting what we could be able to see. As I say, it's still very dark here. We are always 1 hour ahead of South Africa, and the darkness takes some time before it disappears. But with the technology of an infrared, it makes our life much easier. I'm not sure we can get that bird there in the front of us. Let's see if we can get it. It looks like a lapwing on the road. Yes, there's a lapwing there. Or is it a thickney? Yeah, could be a thickney. Yeah, it's a thickney. These are some of the nocturnal birds that come out at night, definitely to feed, not for any other reason. So you'll see them either getting some pretty warmth on the road because there's a lot of heat on the substrate, and they'll always move, catching themselves some insects at night. And other birds that you also see in such darkness will be the nightjars. In this particular area we are in, we see lots of mountain nightjars. And you can see the bird got such a huge eye in comparison to its size. So what she's doing there is just chasing some insects of all sorts that she can be able to see. And they've got wonderful sights. And that's why they've got such big eyes. So most nocturnal birds got big eyes. This one. And also nightjars. So feed yourself, make sure you get enough, because as soon as we get to daylight, they will disappear and stay in until again they get more darkness. Well, I need to move on and go find out if I'll be lucky to get my sausage pride. But in the meantime, we'll take you back to South Africa to my friend Jamie, who is looking for leopard.
Cool. So while David gets on with his morning in the Masai Mara, we're trundling along. Thank you for all your updates about the baboons alarm calling at the dam cam. Here's my thinking. There's two vehicles driving out of Djuma. There's Boyatela and Galagos. So Tax and Orbs are both out. They both would have heard that, as would the bushwalk team. So I have made the conscious but somewhat distressing decision not to follow up on the distress calls. Just realized what I said there. It was unintentional but hilarious. So I'm not going to go racing off to the dam camera. No, apparently a lion was calling on there at some point as well, early this morning. I'm not racing off after that either, because I think there's a good chance it's on Buffelshoek. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to do a quick loop around Treehouse so that we can see whether or not Hasana eventually arrived there. I'm trying to trundle very slowly, because at this time of day, now, with it being as dark as it is, the chances are I'm going to drive over tracks and upset some very important people, myself mainly, as well as James and the bushwalk team, and Herbie and Rex and Tax and Aubrey, and all the people around here are going to be very upset with me when they see just the toe of a leopard's track peeping out, now crunched underneath my tires. So I'm going quite slowly. I'm trying to figure out whether it's better with my main light on or off. There's a sneeze. Sorry, it's stuck. Oh, there it is. Excuse me. I think it might have something to do with about 20 years worth of squirrel debris that's slowly washing down my wall in my room. I have a horrible feeling that's going to continue. hyenas. There's no tracks here. When they had their den up at Philemon's Cut Line, there were tracks up and down and around Treehouse Dam at all times. So I'm certain that they're not here. As certain as one can ever be. It's quite incredible the way that they can take a den site and be there for a while and then move those tiny little cubs really, really far away to the next one in the course of a night. One has to wonder at their reasoning. I think it was purely out of spite. Mick 10. You've given me an opportunity. You should have asked me this sooner when it was still dark and gloomy and scary. Mick 10 wants to know if I've ever seen the mysterious bush yeti. I have not. I have, however, got a host of ghost stories up my sleeve. I don't believe in ghosts. I'll just put that out there. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe I know everything in this world, but my natural cynical side says no. There's no such thing as ghosts. If you have seen a ghost of your dearly departed relative and you're angry with me, well, I'm sorry. I'm sure that that's an experience that you've had, but I don't believe in it. But I used to live in an old farmhouse. Here comes the famous Tokolosh story. There's no bush yeti stories, but there is the story of the Tokoloshi. The Tokoloshi is a mischievous man-like demon thing in local cultures, and the Tokoloshi is quite small and is otherwise normal size. I'm not going to go any further into that, and he sneaks around at night and ravishes people in their beds, and many an unexpected pregnancy has been explained by the presence of the Tokoloshi, and thus beds are put on bricks in order to make sure that he can't actually reach up onto the sorry, my accelerator got a bit jammed there. So that let's go this way, he cannot reach people. Anyway, so cut to the chase. I lived in an old farmhouse where the main section was separate to where our bedrooms were, and the bathroom was outside of where our bedrooms were. We didn't have ensuite because, you know, junior guides and all that. We all shared a bathroom, but to get to the bathroom, you had to walk along a corridor, and you had to walk past a corridor that connected to the main part of the house, which is a huge open lounge. And that was obviously in darkness, but with one light that we used to leave on so that people could work at the desk until late. Anyway, long story short, I got up in the middle of the night, and I went walking along the corridor. And as I walked across the corridor, about 5 meters down on the opposite side in the main area, something sloped across on the other side of me with very long arms, and it walked past as I walked past, and I stopped and I froze. And your first thought is, there's someone still awake? Then I realized it was 3 in the morning. Stopped, looked back, didn't see anything, got chills, and ran to the bathroom, and then sprinted into my bed and put the covers over my head and grabbed Lexi, who's my dog, and curled up with her and didn't move for the rest of the night. By the time I woke up the next morning, obviously I'd put it out of my head completely, until our beloved cleaning lady Monica came sprinting out of that house that morning. I didn't say a word to anyone, going, "There's a Tokolosh, there's a Tokolosh, there's a Tokolosh." So, there's that. There's odd sixth senses that one gets in the bush that I'm convinced are connected to one's sense of sight or hearing that you're not aware, you're not registering subconsciously. So I used to walk up to a place called Lady Godiva Mine, which is an old mica mine. And the birds don't sing there. And you get the most horrendous chilly feeling, even in the brightest sunlight. Everything seems dim, because a whole load of miners died there in a collapse of one of the tunnels. And I promise you, it's super creepy. And weirdly, for a non-believer, I'm telling you a lot of stories here. Weirdly, it happened to me again the other night during the rehearsal. I was checking the Aubrey's Road hyena den, and as I turned off onto the turn-off, all the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. And I had this tremendous drive to turn around and go the other way. And I couldn't. Obviously, we were going to check the hyena den. It's ridiculous. So I didn't. Forced us all the way to the hyena den. It looks super creepy at the moment because it's all overgrown. and it was in the dark. But that chilly feeling wouldn't leave me until I got off that 2-track and back onto the main road and away from that area. No idea why. Don't believe in ghosts. Maybe it was something watching me. Maybe Hukumuri was there and I was just listening to some inner bush sense. I didn't see anything. Now Patrick's saying, what's the weirdest thing I've seen on a night drive? What is the weirdest thing I have ever seen on a night drive? I actually don't think I've seen I've never seen any ghosts on a night drive, obviously. I've had a few surprise elephant encounters. Have I ever seen anything weird? No. No, I've never actually seen anything, except for the Tokolosh, but that wasn't on a night drive. And it wasn't real, obviously. It wasn't real. I saw something, but it wasn't real. What else have I seen on night drive? Nothing odd, nothing untoward. I have no fun stories of catching tourists romancing in vehicles, although many of the other guides do. Particularly when they've worked in areas that are self-drive. But that's never happened to me. I've never had that misfortune. I've had a few amazing night drive experiences. I remember once in the Kalahari sitting watching brown hyenas under the full moon. I forgot about the Mara. Okay, I'm going to think. I'm sure I've seen some odd things in the Masai Mara, and I have absolutely no doubt that if I have, then David, with his years of experience, absolutely would have.
Well, it's very true out here in the bush. I mean, but I think Jamie's weird things she has seen, to me, sound a bit scary. But once you're out here in the African wilderness, you always prepare yourself to see things you do not expect. There's a time I had some guests with me, and we saw two Thompson gazelles, two males, having a fight. I mean, males will always fight for one reason or another. They'll always fight for mating rights, for example, and of course, they'll always fight for territories ownership. And we just stopped. And we usually have guests who don't like seeing things like fights, kills, but these are things that will always happen every other day. And we stopped for about 10 minutes to watch these two Thompson gazelles go for each other. And they fought for quite some time, and after some time I told the guests, there was a couple, I had a husband and a wife. Do we leave? And the wife was like, yes, David, let's go. And the hubby was like, this is exciting, let's wait for a few more minutes. And of course, in every fight, generally, especially if there are two males, there'll be a winner and a loser. And of course, the one that lost also lost a horn and lost one eye. And what happened was funny because the winner, after having really beaten this other one, went and, sorry, I'm going in a little dip. Hopefully my signal remains. And the winner mounted on the loser. And what happened, of course, the winner went away feeling, full of joy. And as soon as he stepped away, after, he walked away, in 10 seconds, two jackals appeared. And those two jackals ate the loser or ate that Thompson gazelle alive when we were watching, and that was not very good. And the wife of the husband of the guest that they had kept saying, I said we need to leave, we need to leave. I do not want to see this. And that Thompson gazelle was devoured or was eaten by these two jackals while standing there. I thought that was rather weird. And what happened, as soon as we saw that, we went back to the camp. And this one lady said, no more game drives. Well, so things we'll always see out in the wilderness. And not sure James, who is walking, have seen anything also weird, similar to that or what Jamie said earlier.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome on the bushwalk today. I'm sorry for our slightly late response, but it really wasn't our fault. It is, in fact, just almost light enough to be safe here on foot. My name is James Henry. David is on camera. Hello, David. Yes, and Herbert is on security detail. We may also have a brief appearance from Lauren or Corley during the course of the morning. Our plan is to head towards Treehouse Dam, which is down in that direction over there. That is where Hosanna was seen yesterday. We might be lucky enough to bump into him or bump into something else, perhaps an elephant or two, something like that. We haven't heard from Tundi and Claramba for a little while, so everything is fresh, new, and we don't know where anything is, except, of course, for that herd of impala. Please talk to us, of course, using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or the chat stream on YouTube. David, can you see the impala?
Yep.
Were you just making that an awkward moment? They didn't move. There are about 7,000 of them. They're all staring at you, wondering why you haven't put them on camera. We do have a lot of baboons shouting off near the waterhole. I think that they're fighting with each other. I don't think that they are alarming. But I might be wrong. Might be worth taking a little turn down that way. I say that because while there are definitely some males going bahu, bahu very loudly, there is also quite a lot of screaming from the little ones going. So I think they're having a bit of internal strife in the troop. So, that is a herd of impalas. Let's see if we can sneak a little closer to them. It is a vast herd, enjoying the bounteous vegetation here on quarantine clearings. And the clearings just outside our camp. And of course enjoying the openness of the area, and you'll find as the day progresses they will head into the thickets. Hello Linda, you say you think I will find Hosanna today. Well, that's very predictive of you, Linda. Do you have a sixth, what do they call it? Not a sixth sense, a third eye perhaps for this sort of thing? Let's keep going a little bit closer. I always like this area at this time of the year because there are so many interesting plants, most of which I forget during the course of the winter season, and so I have to relearn them every year. Lots of interesting grasses. El Toro, it's difficult for me to give you this answer without being very sarcastic, but I'll do it I'll try my best. This armband shows that I'm not about to go and poach a rhinoceros. So should the anti-poaching units be standing in the bushes close by, observing us and seeing what we're up to, they'll see this armband and know without the shadow of a doubt that I'm not here to poach rhinos. Now, I mean, you can judge for yourself the efficacy of such a strategy. Trying to find a plant that I do recognize as we go along here. It really is very frustrating. I suppose it has to do with the onset of age, really, that one cannot remember the flowers from year to year. Now we have some impala doing some jumping. Oh, it's wonderful. That is just beautiful. Apparently we're going to go across to Jamie, who I'm told by Murray in Johannesburg has a bigger chance of finding a leopard than I do. Lucky her.
Alrighty, so James is proceeding in the truest sense of the word towards Treehouse Dam. I've got Tingana's tracks, but they've crossed onto Little Gowrie. I assume it's Tingana. I've got male leopard tracks to be more accurate, or had them, but they went onto Little Gowrie, so I'm just quickly making my way to the Shabama Road junction just to check and see whether or not he didn't cross back onto Juma. That is complete gobbledygook for those of you that are perhaps have just, or those of you who have just discovered this live stream. I hate this road, I'm so sorry. I really hate being on this road. The cameramen hate being on this road. everyone hates being on this road except the leopards. They like being on this road. So there's not much we can do about it. It's a little bit corrugated, just a touch. So basically, Djuma's on my right. Djuma is where we live and work, and occasionally when we have the energy, socialize, which isn't very often, but there you have it. Hey man. All the tracks. What were you doing, Lion? And on the other side of it is Little Gowrie, where we do not drive. Odd line tracks, very oddly. Can you see them there, Craig, or is my shoulder in the way? No, I think you're good there. Looks a little bit like this line was running. And I'm not sure if you can hear it, but if you hear a faint ticking noise, it is something to do with our camera, which actually makes it sound a little bit like a time bomb, but it's not, don't worry. I wonder what this lion was up to. It's fresh. Going on to Djuma. Let me just double check something. What were you doing? I haven't forgotten about the hyenas, by the way, but I cannot ignore fresh signs of things. That would be terribly silly of me, because I might not find the hyenas, but I might find a lion instead. Odd tracks. Michael would like to know what happened to all the hyena cubs we watched in 2015, 2016. So, Bella, Ntumbela, who was the eldest of the ones we saw when I first started working in June. Now, Ntumbela has, I suspect, dispersed. We haven't seen him in a while. So he was a male, he was the daughter of the matriarch, and we haven't seen him in a considerable period of time. So that explains where Ntumbela went. Heart and her brother Soul. What's going on here? Tracks coming in, tracks coming out. I'm just going to go up to this junction and check there, and then I'll come back here. There's just tracks everywhere. Back, forward, back, forward. They were hunting. There must have been. It's a pride. Sorry, I'm talking about hyenas and looking at lions, and it's a bit like doing this. Yeah, see, they're going this way now. Oh, and that way. Oh, and it's a horrible road. Ugh. Soul we haven't seen in a while. Heart has been around. She's been seen lactating, which means there's a chance at some point recently she was pregnant, but we haven't found her. We haven't found her babies or her den. I don't think she managed to keep them. They were lying down here. And then there's June. June has also been seen lactating recently. There's a very good chance that she still has her cubs. So that's really, really awesome. Really awesome news. Then November, I think, is dispersed. We haven't seen November in a long time. D1 and D2, daughter and son of Corky, we haven't seen in a long time. And Jan and Ari, Madam's cubs, we haven't seen in a long time. And then after that, I think the next cub that we saw was Ntima, who is getting to adulthood at some point soon. Right, I better contact the bushwalk team, because these tracks appear to want to move in the direction of Treehouse Dam. Not to want to move, that's a ridiculous sentence. Tracks don't want to move anywhere. These tracks appear to be going towards Treehouse Dam. Let me contact them on the Game Drive radio. Herbie, Herbie. Silence. Herbie, James, bushwalk for Jamie. I don't know who else it would be for. These tracks are so fresh. They were hunting. Oi! Murray! Tell Bushwalk to answer their radio, please. Otherwise they're going to get eaten by a lion and it will not be my fault. They won't get eaten by a lion. I'm only joking. No, that's me. Appreciate it, though. Okay, well, they're not going to Treehouse anymore. Now they're going up Shibamu. One of the most descriptive words in Shangaan, Shibam, is a rifle, because it goes Shibam when you shoot it. Great word. Ah, dear. Ah, good grief. A soft little voice. All right. Stand by, Hobie. Alrighty, I'm going to follow up on these lion tracks from my side and probably put Bushwalk in the right direction as well. Off you pop across to Bushwalk, who apparently have found another big and, I suppose, potentially dangerous animal.
A rain frog. Hello everybody, we have got an elephant just up ahead, across the way, but before we do the elephant, Herbert has just spotted a little rain frog. He looks like a little piece of dung, and this is the male bushveld rain frog. He is about, I think the measurement is about a Okay, so sorry everybody, that's David decided that he needed to lie down to film this animal, and so that moved the aerial. Okay, so here we go. There is the bushveld rain frog. This is the male, as I said. I'm not sure how much of what I said you got, and 5 to 10 times smaller than the female. And there are two interesting things about these frogs, I think, or there are a number of them. The first is that they walk, they don't hop. I'm not going to give a little touch on the backside. Come on. No, he's not walking anywhere. And the second is that they don't actually have tadpoles, as far as I'm aware. They make eggs. Well, they lay eggs. And then what happens is that the eggs become froglets, as opposed to tadpoles. And they don't spend a lot of time actually around the water. They spend a lot of time burrowing into the sand. So that is the bushveld rain frog. Brilliantly disguised little fellow he is. Okay, now there is an elephant up ahead. We're going to see if we can see him. Beard, you say that fellow looks like a rock. A very small rock, yes. I suppose, well, you saw him next to my hand. He's about the size of my thumbnail. Right, let's quickly check the wind. Wind is good for us. Can you still see him, huh? No. Has he moved? All right, let's keep going and see if we can't spot him again to go south. Now, we need to be careful here, of course, because unfortunately there has been a fairly nasty elephant around camp. Don't know if this is him, but the wind is good for us, so we should be able to view him without his knowing that we're here. He was standing beautifully just across the dam, which was great, which would have given us a perfect kind of view of him. But he's now moved on slowly. Let me just look with my binoculars. I saw a log that looked a bit like a baboon. So I suspect what we're going to have to do is cross over the dam wall. No, that's a tree. Yes, Dory, I do have my ash sock. Here it is. My ash sock, for those of you who don't know, is in fact a sock filled with ash. And what it does is help me to check the wind direction. It's very effective. Some people use grass seeds, some people kick sand in the air, some people spend endless time gathering ash into an eyedropper. You know those eyedropper bottles, and then they go puff, puff. But this is definitely the most effective. Here's a track for our elephant. As you can see, he's not a small fellow. That is one of his feet. I'm standing in his footprint. He is not an animal that you would consider very small. Herbert spotted him again. Alright, so he's a good distance away, feeding on marula fruits. And there he is. Isn't that great? We should be able to get slightly close. I think we'll try and move up to the jackalberry tree on the dam wall here, and then we might get a better view. Okay, Herb? Come, David. Let's not dally back there. Okay, apparently you're not going to come with us as we get closer. Let's go back up to the Masai Mara. I'm not sure what David's looking at or where he's going.
Well, hopefully, James, apart from the trucks, you're going to see actual elephants, because I've gotten to the Sausage Republic, and it's time for me now to open my eyes and open my ears and see if I will get to see the sausage girls. But at the moment, I think I'm smelling one of the males of the Oldonyo pike. And Oldonyo pike are the males that are in charge of this particular territory. So you want to see if we're going to get hold of one. I've seen a flick of a tail somewhere in the grass. Let's see if we're going to see him as we get a little closer. This will be very good news, which will definitely indicate the girls are not very far from here. Now, right 12 o'clock ahead of me, there's one big lion, which is a member of the Oldonyo pike males. We want to say good morning to him and find out where the girls could be. All right. He's just having a little walk. And I think before he disappears, we haven't seen him for, I think, about a week myself. So before he disappears, let's have a quick look at him. And then we'll be looking to find out where the girls are and the cabs. Now, Bungay, let's first look at this gentleman from here before he disappears. I'm very convinced the girls are not very far from here. And then I'm going to give you a very good angle to see his face. And how exciting is this? Good morning, sir. You look gorgeous. Now, this male has another male that forms the coalition of the Oldonyo pike. Excuse me. And they're the ones now that are running this particular territory, having, I think, kicked out another coalition of males that we called Kipuli and two other youngsters. So this used to be nomadic males. They came in, and Kipuli and his other two male were thrown out, and these guys took over. Look at that beautiful man. What are you smelling there? What are you up to? Are you finding out anything about the temperatures of the day, of sniffing of any other males that you think could be coming around? Not really. Characteristic of males, you want to go poop down, will allow you to do that. But in the meantime, let's go to another area where I think we have seen one of the females, and I'm guessing that could be Mitty, because, Bungay, do you want me to go a little closer? You want me to stay there? Okay, before you get a little close, ladies and gentlemen, this is the sausage pride, and how lucky, because I think that one girl down there is Mitty. And I'm going very close to these cubs to see how playful they are. But before I do that, let's first take a cruise to James, who I think got a huge mammal.
Righty, we've got a little bit closer. We're on the dam wall now, and we're looking at the back end of this elephant bull. I don't think he's under a marula tree, so he's feeding on something else at the moment. I know that there is a brown ivory not far from him that's probably in fruit at the moment. Oh, look! Look at the hole there. There's a woodland kingfisher nesting in that hole. Right here. That is magical. Anyway, that's really great. I've not seen that before. Let's move a little closer to this elephant. There he is. Now this is a great position to be viewing an elephant. I'm sorry, apparently the audio is out of sync, which means my mouth will not be moving at the same sort of time as the sound is reaching your ears. I'm not sure why that happens. But like I was saying, this is a very perfect place to watch an elephant from, because there is a great sort of chasm between us, which means that he will feel safe if he sees us, and we can feel relatively safe. You don't ever take anything for granted when you're viewing these animals on foot, but we can do this quite nicely without him knowing that we're here. Interestingly, they say at this angle an elephant has a blind spot. They wouldn't see us. So if he looks to the side, he won't see us. But if he turns to face us, I'm pretty sure he'll see us, because we're standing here on a relatively exposed piece of ground, but with this great big gully between us, which is great. We can try and move a little bit along here, but I think for now this is probably a pretty good place to be viewing him. Like I say, the elephants at the moment, and Tristan and Jamie and Lauren will have attested to this, are often in must around this time of the year. That's an odd thing to say, because you'll read that they don't come into must necessarily seasonally, but it does seem that in this area must bulls are much more common during the marula season. Now, this wind is blowing from him to us, so I would have expected that if this bull is in must, that we'd be able to smell the sweet leather smell. And we also need to see his left ear to see if this is Daryl. I don't think it is. He's got a very torn right ear, does he? Daryl, for those of you who don't know, is an elephant who is well known around the Sabi Sands. I suppose he's what might be described as a lodge elephant. He spends a lot of time around the lodges, and he's become very used to the lodges because there are places where there's always green vegetation, because of course the garden's always watered. Now we can see his right ear, his left ear, sorry. Alrighty, it's not Daryl, I don't think, but we're going to go back up to the Masai Mara, where David Gathambitu has managed to find his favourite cats.
You've been a James. Well, ladies and gentlemen, What do you make of that, and what would you say? I think the best thing for me is just first to keep quiet, but how exciting to have seen James with that big elephant. Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And we have this very exciting view of lion cubs with their mother playing. My name is David, and with me on camera is Bungay. Bungay, how are you, sir? For us, it's morning here, it's about 7 o'clock or 6:30. And we are in the Mara Triangle, as I said, in Kenya. And see what a lovely sighting we got. We got 2 lionesses there, and we got 4 cubs. Now, these lionesses belong to a pride that we call the sausage tree. And I'm saying the sausage tree because we have known these lionesses, especially these 2 girls, they love climbing trees. Now, they're not alone, because if you look to the right, there's a different one that got a male, and definitely he is a boy, he is a male, and he is in charge of this territory. And my guess is he's the father of these cubs here. Now, remember, we are coming to you live from the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And should you have any questions or any comments, you're more than welcome to ask. And this is very exciting. Personally, I feel I have nothing to say, but first giving you a few seconds to enjoy this wonderful experience. Kim, thank you very much. Great comment. You say it's gorgeous because, I mean, seeing these cubs, trying to think that could be 3 weeks, 4 weeks old is just exciting. Now, the mother they are jumping on, that is the mother. The female they're jumping on, that is the mother, and her name is Mitty. Then the other female behind her is called Kingtail, because when you look at her tail, she got a note on her tail, so we call her Kingtail. These lions or lionesses, we know them very well. We follow them every day, so we are also able to identify them, and we have given them names. And these names we give them because of their behavior, what they do, or if they have any special marks or characteristics on their bodies. That's how we give them names. Look at that mother looking at her playful cubs. How special is that? So we think this cub's about 3-4 weeks old, and there are 4 of them. In general, lionesses will get anything between 1 to 4 cubs, of course, depending on the genetic lineage of a lioness. But this particular one, she did very well, and she got herself 4 cubs. Good morning, cubbies. How are you? See how curious they are, eh? They're wondering what we are made of, or what type of an animal we are. Cara, good question. You're asking how old is the mother. I would guess the mother could be about 4-5 years old. 4-5 years old, that's my guess. And Cara, not very sure this is her first litter, but my guess is this could be her second litter. I do not know whether this is her first litter, Cara, or her second, but my guess is could be second, because in general on the first litter, the lionesses will always get 1 or 2 cubs, but to get 4, I think she did very well. We guess the one to the left, the Kingtail, could be the mother of this one, because Kingtail is the oldest female in this particular pride. She is like their mother. And definitely she has got herself some grandchildren, or cubs. Look at that. So Cara, as yet, we do not know what sex these cubs are, but I'm sure in about a month's time, or going to 2 months, we'll be able to definitely tell 100%. We'll just need to look carefully behind the tails as they keep playing, as they keep growing, and we shall know whether they're boys or girls. So one of them is nursing. If you look carefully, 3 are very playful, and one of them is nursing. Now, a few days ago, we had an interesting scenario where the one that is nursing was lost for 2 days, and we think she fell in a ditch, and either the mother could not, bring her out of the ditch, and she remained there for 2 days. And if you look at her and the other 3, she looks a little different, a bit smallish, a bit weak, a bit dark. But from what we have noticed the last 2 days, she is catching up, not how she was 5 days ago. So hopefully she'll be able to nurse a lot. And I think that's why the mother is paying more attention to her and feeding her so that she'll be able to be as playful as these other 3 cubs here. Nancy, how are you? And that's a very good question. And you'd like to know whether these are Kingtail's cubs. No, they are not. These cubs belong to that female you see there, and her name is Mitty. Mitty because she loves climbing, trees. All of them, because the Sausage Tree Pride, Nancy, has 5 girls. We've got 2 here, and they all love climbing trees. But Mitty, the mother of these 4 cubs here, loves climbing more than the other 4. So Mitty, the girl lying behind, Nancy, the girl lying behind Mitty, is Kingtail, who we think, Nancy, she dropped her cubs maybe 6 or 1 week ago, but she has not brought them out to join or to introduce them to the pride. We have been very quietly following her every time she wakes up, and she sneaks in the thicket, but then we lose her. And ideally thinking those cubs maybe haven't even opened their eyes. They'll always open their eyes 7-8 days or so. We do not want to interfere with her space until they come out. John, any litter ideally is anything between 1 to 4. Now, there are 5 girls here, and you've got 2 other girls that got cubs. One girl that we called Limpy had 2 cubs. And unfortunately, she lost one mysteriously. I mean, it wasn't mysterious, I would say. That happens a lot. They'll always lose their cubs either to starvation or abandonment, or if other predators like leopards or hyenas go for them. And then there's another female that we don't have a name for yet. She got 2 cubs. Now, John, this particular female here that we call Mitty, got her here 4 cubs. So anything between 1 to 4 is possible for lionesses to get cubs, but for the first litters in general, they always get 1 or 2. All right, that's Mitty. Joe, what should happen if lions are very social, Joe, and if any one of them would not be able to hunt, for example, be it Kinky because she just dropped her young ones, the other females will always do the hunting. And if she goes and gets herself some thickets, drops her young ones, and the rest of the pride do not hunt single-handedly, we have seen these lionesses also hunting for themselves. Because you'd imagine, for example, Mitty now, who have gone on that termite mound for a very good reason, with 4 cubs, she definitely needs to eat. And this is very, very special. How lovely was that? I'm very excited to see these lionesses end with these 4 cubs. That is super special, and I think they've made my morning. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having joined us. You can continue watching us on YouTube, and we'll be right back. And keep an eye, we might be sending you more notifications later. From myself, David, and Bungay, many thanks and goodbye for now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having stayed watching that very special moment of this lioness that's walking towards us, meeting with her very playful cubs. How cool was that? She's walking back, and oops, see how playful they get. Now, the lions are very social. They're definitely related. And the one that's lying down there with the cub is called Kinktail. We all know Kinktail has a knot on her tail. That's why we call her Kinktail. And the one that just lay down there is called Mitty. We just gave her that name the other day because she loves to climb trees, and especially sausage trees. And that's how this particular pride ended up getting that particular name, and we call them the sausage tree pride. Now, on the right, Bungay, if you see a little bit to the right, you're going to see a male, and this male is always with another male. A just very good question you're asking if the Kinktail is the leader of the pride. Yes, she is, and she is the oldest. I think, I could be wrong, she's about 7-8 years old. She's the leader, she is the oldest, and I think most of these other girls here are her daughters. Now, that one male there is called Ondonyo Pike, and he got his other partner. I'm not sure where he is, and it's him and the other one I'm talking about that are in charge of this particular territory. And they're the ones that took over from the other coalition that was ruling this area for a long time that we used to call Kipuli, and his two other partners who have not been in the picture for maybe now going to 3 months. I can't rule them out because Kipuli is a huge male. I do not know where he is, but I'm sure maybe time will tell when he'll come back and reign in this beautiful territory that Bungay is showing you, that I call the Sausage Republic. Look at that as the sun is also pushing up, and that is our eastern horizon, and you can see how the trees are giving it a very good cover as it's pushing up with those beautiful colors you may all think of. The peach, the yellows, the oranges, the little bluish, little grayish color is what I've been calling some golden moments in the morning. And I'm sure the sun is hiding somewhere there, and it won't be long before that ball pops up. Ray, where is the rest of the pride? I can tell you they are not very far from here. Lions, we know they're very social. We have seen 2 of the girls, but I've been following this particular 2 just because they got the cubs, and just wondering when Kinktail is going to introduce her cubs. So the other 3 girls are not very far from here. The other 3 girls, one of them is Limpy. We call her Limpy because she limps, and she got a cub now. It's pretty big, and there's another female that's beautiful yon that have 2 cubs. My guess is they could be within a radius of 1 kilometer or most 2 from here, and they definitely don't live separated for long. Maybe a few hours, then they'll come join them. I'm sure if I keep searching them very hard, I'll definitely get them. The other day, they brought down a buffalo. Hello. And for the first time, we saw all the 5 girls, bringing down that buffalo. And this one maybe reason I'll say why the Sausage Pride is my favorite. When they brought that buffalo, they were on their own, 5 girls, and the male we just saw was not there, not even the other one. Buffaloes are big animals, rather dangerous to hunt because they have been known to kill lions. But these girls here, whoops, I just have hearts down for them when they choose what to bring down. These calves are full of energy, you can tell, eh? And there's nothing unusual with what they're doing because many cubs of predators at this age, it's play. So the one rising up, if Bungay, you go to the left a little bit, we can see the tail of Kinktail. Tail of Kinktail, I'm not sure what I'm saying, but yes, so the one that just stood up, this is the pathfinder or the leader. You can see, if you look carefully in the tail, do you see that knot? You see she's bent? That's the Kinktail, and that's why we call her that. Not sure what she saw, because also Mitty is looking the same direction, and these calves are just too young to find out anything or to, digest what could be happening. But seeing the mother looking the same direction, they are also looking. But I guess now they're looking at Bungay, and they're wondering what type of a camera he got, because it's such a massive camera And I'm just turning on the other side to see where Kingtail has gone. And she has gone in what you call a lager. Never too late. What would the mom do if the cabs start walking towards the vehicle? I think never too late. What she'll do is just to keep a close eye and see that either me or Bungay is not misbehaving or trying to stroke them. Right, Bungay? Yes, Bungay says he'll never dare do that. She would feel getting so close and maybe not happy with where they are. She would definitely call them up and tell them, come on guys, behave, get out of that car. It's smelling a lot of diesel fumes and not sure that's very good for your health at your young age. But we haven't seen lion cubs doing that. But if never too late, there were hyenas, oops, they would be under the car, they would be chewing the mud flaps, and possibly we have also seen them trying to chew even our tires. Lion cubs, they would maybe come and just become, or just, remain playful without trying to bite the car. Hello, cubs. So you see the one in the middle there. Look at her coat. She looks a little different from the other three. And I guess this is the one that was lost. And for 2 days, she disappeared. But looking at her 5 days ago and how she is today, very big change. And I'm sure she's catching up with the other three. Hello. Good morning, cubs. Are you tired now? And what they'll keep doing now is biting sticks, biting grass. Oops. Now it's time for play again. I am not going anywhere. I'm staying here and wait for them to keep playing, or wait to see if Kingtail will come back or any of the other three girls. And as we do that, let's go across to Jamie and find out what is her latest.
Awesome! Well done, Gigi. Across in the Masai Mara, tiny lion cubs are always a very exciting thing. So I'm very happy for him. And I am unbelievably irritable right now. I'm trying not to be. The vehicles have finally got going. There we go. I'm just listening to the Game Drive radio. Mostly I'm irritable with myself because I can't figure out where these lion tracks have come out. I don't know if I'm wasting my time because I've missed them and they've gone towards Gari Dam. And I've allowed myself to become distracted and I'm not doing either thing properly. I'm thinking about hyenas and I'm looking for lions and I'm not doing either properly and it's irritating me. I know we're not allowed to tell you that we're irritated, but I'm irritated. I'm getting it wrong, and it's frustrating me. And bushwalk team's on their way this way, and I've missed something. I've missed these tracks coming out somewhere, and it's driving me crazy. And the only thing I can think of is either they're still there, or I have missed them under elephant tracks. And now, of course, everybody's out and about. An hour later, after us. Come on, everyone. No lions for you. Ha. No lions either if you're not awake. So that's basically my update, is I've driven round and round and round. I can't figure out where these lions have gone. And the only thing the one place I haven't checked. Thanks, James. Thanks, yes. And thanks, Murray, for that little boost of confidence as well. James says this is the second drive where I haven't found any animals. All right. Let's just keep track. I found animals. Okay, I saw a water buck. Saw some impala. Saw a snake eagle. But you were busy looking at lion cubs. So, whatever. It's fine. I won't take it personally. I hear you. Yeah, maybe my stories of the tokolosh scared everything away. No, I think I'm just on one of those rolls where everything's escaping me. It's fine, I'll find you an animal, don't you worry. Don't you worry, I'll find you something. You know what? I'm going to go and drive in the Mulwati and then you won't see me again for the rest of the drive. Because there's no signal because it's summer. and probably won't even be missed. It's fine. Look, there's an impala, see? The rarest of all animals. Do you know how hard it is to find an impala? Not even they want to be on camera. Thanks, Nature Girl. Nature Girl says that I should look for hyena. Anyone else? Anyone else? Like, which direction would you like me to go in? East, west? I'm missing something. It's driving me mad. It's okay. It's okay. The morning is yet young. And in the back of my mind, which I'm sure Craig is experiencing as well, all I can hear is tick, 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 tick of the camera. Look how peaceful these impala are. You know what? Their feelings are probably hurt as well. They're just... Seven, wonderful. Thank you, Seven. Seven's got a little bit of optimism this morning. Seven is saying that they... I have no idea if Seven is female or male, but Seven says that they are enjoying the scenery. Thank you, Seven. I'm enjoying the scenery too. It's beautiful. The birds are singing. And gently in my ear comes the drone of the Game Drive radio, where we continue with the same update 3,000 times. Okay, come, let's go check the fire break. Last place I'll check, and then I'll go check for the hyenas. And if I don't have any luck, then I'll give up. And we'll go look for something else. There we go. Now I've got some help. Oh, White Lady, sorry. I didn't actually talk about that impala's horn. Whoa. Nice spot there, Craig. My goodness. That was quite an impressive flock of quelea. Come back. That was awesome. Sorry, hold on the question of the horn. That was very cool. I wonder if they're going to float back. Probably not. They're aiming for those wide open spaces of cheetah plains and Torchwood. Do you remember when we were driving cheetah plains, how we would see them flocking, moving like a shoal of fish? It's one of the most beautiful things to see, as they all seem to move as one. So that was a type of bird known as a red-billed quelea, and they form these massive flocks. Of course, it's gone now. But that was very well spotted on Craig's part. Okay, some Egyptian geese fluttering past. Oh, horn, impala's horn, it's broken. It presumably broke it in a fight, or alternatively it ran into something. That's also a possibility when it was running away from a predator. Horn, of course, is bone, so once a horn is broken like that, it cannot be fixed. It cannot regrow. That's it. It's done. Okay, fortunately the bushwalk team is out and about. They're going to help us look for the lions. I hope that they are less irritable than I am.
We are going to attempt to help with the lions at some stage. First, we're just going to walk through this little field of feathered chloris because it is so very pretty indeed. This is much used this year. It is Chloris roxburghiana, and the reason I stopped suddenly is that there's a fairly substantial poo over there that can only have come from the bottom of a buffalo. And so, well, we'd do well to be very cautious as we head through this thick bush down towards the river. So Chloris roxburghiana, which grows almost exclusively on termite mounds or around termite areas, I say that because, of course, not all termites build mounds. But if you look around here, this Chlorus roxburghiana is growing extensively around this large termite mound. And what it shows you is the extent of the termite mound. It's not only this mound, it is the proverbial tip of the iceberg, so much that if you wanted to use something that wasn't a cliche, you could say his behavior was only the tip of the termite mound. Try it. See what happens. Next time you're in the boardroom and you're trying to use that old cliche, tip of the iceberg, you can dispense with it and use tip of the termite mound. Right, come on then. All we're doing is heading down south to see if we can't find Jamie's lions, or certainly find the tracks that Jamie's lions have left, and perhaps we'll be very lucky and be able to give her a bit of a hand there. Lou, how did I miss stepping in the poop? That's a very good question, Lou. I'm assuming you're asking because you know that I have a propensity for poop stepping. I do, absolutely. I step in all poop for some reason. That is just what happens to me. It's my fate, it's my curse as a human being. But that one, I don't know why I managed to miss it. I think I must have seen it early, which is very unusual. Normally they sneak up on me. Let's just have a quick look at this blue commelina. And you can see that, well, it's almost finished as a flower, but that the leaves, especially there, have been set upon by a caterpillar. I don't know which caterpillar species this is, but as I say at this time of the year, every year, that is of course known as a leaf tear, and it's a caterpillar that lives pretty much between the dermal layers of the leaf, so it's a tiny little thing, and it manages to avoid eating the structural material of the plant. So it doesn't eat a lot of the cellulose and lignin, which make up the cell walls of the plant. Instead, it just kind of manages to eat the soft stuff, which of course means it doesn't need a digestive system nearly as sophisticated as some of the other caterpillar species, which must eat the whole lot. So I think it's quite a clever strategy, really. There are all sorts of strategies for taking advantage of eating the indigestible parts of the plants out here. There's some lovely flowers and grasses out at the moment. These grasses, for example, an Aristida species, possibly stipitata, Aristida stipitata. Here's another one. I'm not sure which one this is. It's not congesta, but something quite similar. They're both known as the three-horn species. They're beautiful at this time of the year because they're just in full seed, but they are hopeless for grazing and indicators, of course, of disturbed sites. And no animal worth salt would ever think about eating Aristida or Stida or whatever you want to call it. Now, the common name is the three-horn, and it's called the three-horn because each seed, every single one of the seeds on this plant has got three horns, which are like sort of thin wings, if you like. And the three horns are there.
Yeah, I can see.
Can you see them? There we are. They're wings, and they also stick into things that walk past them. So if you walk through a field of this stuff, when it's dry, it'll stick to your clothing. And the seed is a very tiny little thing on the end. It's very small. See that, David? It's very small. Minute. It's also not very good to eat. Right, apparently we are now going across, not to Daniel and the lion's den, but to David and the lion's den.
Well, this is one of the best things, or one of the best sightings I've ever had in my career, because these cubs have been building confidence and courage with us, and they've been coming closer to the car every other minute. Now, initially when we had them, they were playing so much, and I thought the energy levels went down, but all of a sudden, just see, now everything's back to normal, and especially for these three. Biting sticks, grass, jumping on top of each other. But if you notice carefully, there's one that is nursing. And the one that's nursing is the one we thought has a little bit of a challenge and looking a little smaller, as I had said earlier. And for those of you who would be joining us now, this is the sausage trip, right? That usually have 5 females and of course 2 males with them, but now they got these 4 cubs. The other 3 cubs that are much older than this. I'm sure you all been following them. That makes 7. And we think Kingtail got cubs that I think I have seen the den from a distance. And after these cubs, or after watching these cubs play, I'll be going to investigate correctly whether that's the actual den for Kingtail. Kingtail is the leader of this particular pride. Now this female here that you're seeing that has these 4 cubs is called Mitty. Mitty because she loves climbing trees. That's how we ended up giving her that name, and that is a local Swahili or Kiswahili word for trees. Now, even the one that looked a little bit smallish, the other 3, I think, are just dragging her to play. There's no reason not to play, because this is how they build their muscles, and this is how they prepare themselves for the future. And I'm sure the mother is very proud. That one, to me, looks like a boy. I could be wrong, but I'm like seeing some testicles, pretty small, behind or below her tail, his tail rather. How cool is this, eh? I'm trying to imagine myself being the mother of these cubs, and I'm like, well done, my babies. You have a future. Nina's the 4th cub. Bungay, if you put your camera right on this one here, exactly. Nina's, that is the 4th cub. And luckily, Nina's, the good news, she is nursing again. But look at her, Nina's, carefully. See how she looks a bit smallish, not as strong or full of spirit like the other 3. So that's the one, Nina's. But the good news, as I said, she's nursing again, and she's back in the fold. And the mother, sure, and the mother has been giving her more attention than the other 3. How wonderful is this? Ladies and gentlemen, hello from the Mara Triangle in Kenya, and a very warm welcome to this very special sighting of a female lioness or lioness with her 4 cubs that are playing. My name is David, and on camera with me is Bungay. Now, we got this very special sighting here of cameras, or rather of lion cubs that are so playful on an early morning. And you notice the mother is on the left, and she did herself a very good job, and she got 4 cubs. Will you believe that? It's very typical when it's early morning like this for the cubs of any predator to be so playful, because they're so full of energy, because the temperatures are cool. And remember, we are coming to you live, and should you have any questions or comments, you may send them through. I think the best thing for me is for us to keep quiet for a couple of seconds and just either see or hear them play, because you can hear a bit of growling and then I don't know whether I'll tell Bungay is my camera operator, to move that dead branch there for us to see those 2 that are wrestling each other. Look at that. My guess is this calf's about 3-4 weeks old. Now, they are 4, but if you look at them carefully, one of them looks a little bit smallish than the other 3. And we're going to be able to pinpoint out her when we are able to separate her from the other three. Now you see the one left behind. Those three are playing together. The one left behind that you see on the camera now. That one, look at her. She looks a little smallish. And also look at her mobility. It's not as sharp or as good as the other three. Apparently about a week ago, she disappeared for 2 days and we didn't know where she was. And we had a feeling she fell in a ditch, and the mother unfortunately was not able to rescue her. But I think on the second day or coming morning of the third day, the mother rescued her and she joined the fold again. And look at that one. Are you trying to pull your mother's tail out? Your mother needs the tail to keep flicking it in the grass. Kathy, my guess is 3-4 weeks. That could be the age of these calves. You're thinking either going to 4 weeks now. And the mother was able to rescue that one cub, and she rejoined the rest of the pride. But I think those 2 days that she was away from the mother, and she missed nursing, because at this age they're not able to eat meat. They definitely need lots of milk from the mother. Those 2 days affected her so much, and that's why she looked a little smallish. But the good news, Kathy, and all our nice viewers, she has come back, and in the last 4 days I have noticed she's catching up with the rest in terms of body size, in terms of her coat, in terms of playing, and her spirit is almost like the rest. Maya, very good question, and I'll tell you what, Maya, I don't even know what sex they are. So Maya, keep watching, keep an eye, and always very good to hear your name out there. And maybe going to 6 months will be the right time to name them. And just like the mother Maya, and I'm sure you're aware we named her Mitty because she loves to climb trees. Maya, I'm sure we have another female in this particular pride that we call Limpy because she sprained her ankle when chasing the wildebeest during the migration, and that limp hasn't healed very well. And I'm sure you also know we have Kingtail. So once they get big, there's so many ways or there's so many things we look at before we name them. Their behavior, or should they have any characteristic in them? Ariel, good question. Will all the cubs survive? Very difficult to say, but chances are yes. I will say yes and no. Now, lion cubs disappear, or the lionesses lose their cubs for a number of reasons. Number one, abandonment. I was talking about earlier area of this particular cub that you saw lying down there, that she had disappeared for 2 days because she fell in a ditch. And more often than not, the mothers will I can't rescue you, I got 3 cubs, I'll abandon you. So abandonment is one of the reasons that lionesses lose their cubs. Number 2, starvation. Now, the migration is gone. I'm talking of the wildebeest and the huge herds of zebras we had here a few months ago. They have all gone back to Serengeti National Park in Tanzania to give birth, and that leaves the lions with limited choices of easy food to get. So they are left possibly hunting bigger and dangerous prey like buffaloes, which becomes pretty tricky. So starvation or hunger is another reason area for the lionesses to lose their cubs. And then, of course, number 3, occasionally we have seen other predators like leopards or hyenas coming for the cubs. Well, Kali, the mothers are always worried, and they always worry of other predators, coming to get their cubs. And as I said, hyenas, leopards are classical examples of animals that will come for these cubs. Kali, once in a while, we have seen eagles, for example, the martial eagles or crown eagles also flying low and grabbing these cubs and feeding on them. Once in a while, wild dogs, Kali, also go for lion cubs. This is so very special. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, as I told you earlier, should you have any questions or comments, please keep sending them through. It gives us a lot of joy when we talk to you in real time. This particular lioness, for those of you who could be joining us now, belongs to a pride that we call the Sausage Tree, and we are in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Her name is Mitty, and she got herself 4 wonderful cubs. We think They could be going 3 to 4 months, and the best they can do now is to have some fun jumping up and down, trying to break trees, logs or sticks, which definitely they cannot, because their teeth are still very delicate. This bride normally has 5 girls, and 3 of the girls now have cubs. Now, the leader or the eldest female in this bride is called Kingtail, and I think she got the latest addition of cubs, which, from my guess, they're about 7 or 8 days old. What we've been trying to do for the last 1 week or so is to find out exactly where her den is. And once we see that den, we'll be more than excited to see her cubs. Arlene, you love the eyelashes. Definitely, they look so very cute. That's a good comment that I haven't gotten for a long time, but I've been thinking about it. Yes, those eyelashes are pretty special. And I think at this particular age, should it get very hot, Arlene, the eyelashes will keep the sun glare away from their delicate small eyes. Don't bite the toes of your brother or your sister. Now, the good thing is the claws are not as sharp as yet, and also their teeth are not sharp as well. And, how cool is this? And what a glorious moment I've had this morning. I'm feeling so full of joy. And as I woke up, I felt this will be a great morning on my safari. Me and Bungay, right, Bungay? Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll definitely be sending you more notifications. Keep an eye, because we'll have more exciting exciting moments later. On behalf of myself and Bungay, thank you and goodbye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our lion cubs can't stop playing, and I cannot feel tempted to go and join them. I am not very sure, but I can tell for now, of the 4, I have identified one of them is a male. We'll try and show you why I think it is a male, because I've seen the testicles, pretty small, and I can tell that's not a vagina. Those are testicles. And the one, you see the one walking up, the one running down, that one is definitely a male. I've been looking under his tail very well. Look at that. That one there, I'm very convinced, I could be wrong, that one would possibly be a male, and we'll be trying to find out that with Bungay much later on when we go back to the camp, and when we look very slowly on a slow-mo of these cubs playing on the screen, on a bigger screen, and just pause the play, and I'm very convinced that is a male. So I have identified at least one male in these 4 cubs. I'll be embarrassed if I'll be wrong, and then we'll be finding out who the other 3 are, whether they are boys or girls. But at this age, it's rather difficult. Now, the one walking, see the one walking? Megan was talking about the one walking there. She looks a bit weak, but you can see now she's more playful than she, I would say, she was 4 or 5 days ago. Now, looking at the IUCN red list, Megan, in terms of how they have classified the lions, there's been a bit of concern of lions all over the world, and more so in Africa. But now, with better conservation, they're not on the red list. I would not say they're vulnerable now at the moment, but the numbers, Megan, have dramatically come down. We have lost so many lions, and number one reason for that is because of loss of habitat for these beautiful cats. But as it is now, I think the numbers, Megan, have stabilized, and would look at the numbers shooting upwards maybe in the next couple of years if things remain the way they are. The game rangers are doing a wonderful job. We got lots of funding being done by all animal lovers all over the world. And we as guides here, we are always out here to make sure that, these species keep growing and growing for you, Megan, and for all the other wonderful viewers. So the one going down, see Bungai, the cab going down the ditch now. Yeah, that particular one. That's the one we have had concern with. And either she decided to do something on her own and she got lost. So you better don't do that. Join the others as they play, or go get yourself some milk. If you look at her coat, you see she's a little dark than the other three. And I'm guessing that happened the 2 days that she had gone missing in action, until when Isaac, saw her again in the evening, reunited with the mother. It was very good news for all of us. We all felt emotionally very happy, because we did not know where she had disappeared to, or, a leopard or a hyena, or could be an eagle, or sometimes you have seen snakes, like the African rock python, also feeding on abandoned or lost lion cubs. England, yeah, I would say animals, you can tell the love they got for the young ones. Now, if you look at this particular lioness that we call Mitty, just look at that bonding. Just see the connection. They tend to groom a lot, and this starts at a very early age. And you can see the bond they create between the young ones and themselves. This is pretty special. So as much as she is licking that one particular cub, that also enhances the bonding between the mother and the young one. How cool is that, eh? I don't know whether in my next life I would want to be a lioness and remain a cub all my life, and see my mother doing that to me, licking me, playing with me, feeding me, protecting me from there would be any dangers around my life. So I'm not sure all of them are competing for mother's attention. This is so very sweet. What I will want to do now, I want to do a big lap. A big loop. You remember earlier saying, I think I might have seen the den for the kingtail. And as I try to do that, I think Jamie last night, she was very frustrated looking for animals. But I think she might be a very lucky girl this morning now.
Yeah. I have found something. I'm just saying. Admittedly, I didn't find something, but I did put the guides into the right direction of something. So there you go. Marvelous news. We have found the Nkuhumas. Now, they might not have tiny little cubs with them at the moment, but we, of course, are all very fond of them and very, very happy to see them. And I think I count 11 lions here, which is good because it means that we've got the total Nkuhuma pride, minus, of course, the missing sub-adult floppy ear, who hasn't been seen in a very, very long time. And, of course, the addition of the Mangeni male, who is always here with the Nkuhumas, and day by day looks as though he is regaining his strength. So we found them eventually, and, just by the way, I bumped into Pretty on the way. So I think I've been searching for hyena dens in all the wrong places, because now we're on the western edge of Djuma. I unfortunately couldn't follow her, so what I'm going to do is go and check the old den off Zoe's road. She lost me almost immediately through a very thick block. Following hyenas off-road is not easy at all. So there you have it. We've at least accomplished something this morning, just saying. Got there eventually. Now, it does come as a massive relief. So what I'm doing at the moment is sitting with my camera on my lap. It is time for us to get some very good facial shots of the sub-adults. But of course, that's easier said than done when animals are a little bit uncooperative. We at least have a firm, solid base when it comes to the Nkuhumas. Indigo Girl said something, but I have absolutely no idea what it was. A good what, sorry? A good something. Oh, flop. Hiding in the long grass there. Yeah, I've been trying to put the Olololos into an order with the various sub-adults. My goodness, that is confusing to try and keep track of them. And of course, I haven't been down to the Mara in a while. I haven't taken any photos of the Olololo sub-adults, and it's incredibly disconcerting to try and figure out who's who in the zoo. Or not zoo. Who's who in the wild. Where the Nkuhumas is pretty easy. 4 sub-adult females, 1 sub-adult male. Indigo Girl says, good old grandma. Of course, that was a little while ago when Nana stood up and she moved into the long grass. She's the one with the hip injury. And shame, she's looking old. She's opened up that hip injury again. It's looking sore, it's looking uncomfortable. And there's a lot of muscle wastage around the pelvis area. And she's looking almost concave around her hips. But of course, she recovered from that massive injury, largely. So she's going to be fine. Luckily, it looks as though they've eaten. Not much, but they've eaten. Oh, there's a little boy. Now, Dory, I assume you're referring to the Mangeni male because the Nkuhuma little boy is already getting his mane. It's definitely there, but Dory wants to know if this male will ever get his mane. He will. It's just been slightly slowed down due to the... Look, gracious, let's watch and see how he... Oh, someone's growly at us this morning. Don't be nasty, Amber. Ooh. So much for acceptance. The lionesses are hissing at him. Properly hissing at him. Oh, is that nice, boy? Into the weeping wattle. It's interesting. It appears as though not all of the Nkuhumas have accepted him. Yes, he'll get his mane. He just needs to recover from the mange first. So you can see the healing process is really well underway. He still needs to regain quite a lot of condition. He was very, very weak at some stage, and he's still got a few patchy bald spots, which might take a couple of months to cover over with fur. Those are obviously the areas where the mange was at its worst and the most infected. You'll notice he's missing his tail tip too. If he only flicks his tail, it's just starting to grow back now. Now he's going to keep his tail still. There you go, see? Just getting its black tip back now. When at one point it was completely bald around the tip. Aegis, in a way, the Nkuhumas do have names. So Aegis wants to know if the Nkuhumas and the Evokers will ever get names. Yes, they will. The Evokers most definitely will. It probably won't be us who names them. There's, as you know, a great deal of politics that goes into the naming of animals. I, for one, can never understand exactly why. But it is something that people get very emotional about, and especially if they are deprived of their seeming right to make their contribution to the name of an animal. Far be it for me to criticize, though. People, obviously, it's not for me to decide what people should think is important. So we probably won't name the Evokers because we don't see them enough to have that right. If we did, we would give the naming, or we'd ask for Tax and for Aubrey to give their naming suggestions. But chances are they'll be named by someone up north. No one bothers, of course, which is where my issue comes in with this whole naming process. No one bothers ever to worry about naming the females. It doesn't occur to people to name the females, and then when we do, then it causes an uproar, which is utterly ridiculous, because that sheer hypocrisy of it, that the males should get names, or leopards should get names, but not lionesses, is quite astounding, given that they all have their own important individual roles to play and shouldn't be lumped together in a pride. But hey, you know, whatever works as long as you stick to the old system. Anyway, in terms of having names, they don't have names exactly, but I mean, Amber Eyes is Amber Eyes, and Nana is Nana. So there's each and every single individual. I'll go back into this in a little bit because I haven't finished. I'll tell you about each and every single individual adult female here. So while our lions snooze away, presumably there are ticks crawling all over them. Hopefully Bushwalk is dodging that possibility.
This tick is waiting for something to go past it. I know that there's a fancy term for that. Of course, for the life of me, I cannot remember what it is. Anyway, there it is, waiting on the road for something to go past. And as far as I can work out, this is what's known as a rhino tick. I suspect that that's a fairly generic term for this kind of tick. But you can actually tell if it's male or female. And I think, David, I'm just going to move it so I can have a look at it, if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as I remember, this is a male. Turn it over. Herbie reckons turn it over and you'll be able to tell for sure. Okay, let's flip it over. Oh, there he goes. Come here, you vile creature. Herbert, what am I looking for here? I mean, I can see an opening, but I can't see anything else. It's not as obvious as on a goat, for example. You can tell from the top, because the male and the female do look different from the top. I think it's male. He's not it looks a bit creepy, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's going to stick his teeth into me? Drill his mandibles into my body and fill me with rickettsia. Good news, you say gross but pretty. I'm not sure that you can be gross and pretty at the same time. I think it's just pretty gross. I must say I've tried to find the beauty in ticks and failed dismally to do so. I do not find this a vaguely attractive creature. It is creepy. It is filled with disease. It's able to jump onto its front. David, why are you hitting me in the head? All right, well, I suppose he has a right to life like the rest of us. Let's put him on it. Do you want to get back on your grass? You vile creature. Of course, you can get into a lot of trouble on this show if you call a creature vile. Somebody is shortly going to tweet about how they think it's very unfair that I call this tick gross. There you are. Stay. Oh. He'll climb up again on his own, I think. I feel I've been slightly disrespectful to that tick, but it's just the way it is. Paula, no, you can pick them up pretty safely. They don't bite quickly. They take They take time to drill with their funny little mouth parts into your skin, and then they'll suck your blood out quietly while you're asleep at night or having your breakfast, all the while putting nasty little toxins and pathogens into your body. And then one day you'll wake up not feeling so fly, and you'll come out in sweats and have to have a sleep for a long time. You'll have a horrible headache and feel like you've got dreadful flu. That's what tick bite fever feels like. But once you've had it once from one particular area, you're very unlikely to get it again. Yes, that is the rhino tick. Goodbye, Mr. Rhino Tick. May you have a lovely day. All right, we're continuing down the road. We're sort of heading in the direction of where we think we might just be able to find some Hosanna tracks. But at the moment, I'm just enjoying the green verdance of the Lowveld at the moment and trying to avoid a buffalo which came down here a little bit earlier. We have had some tracks and some very fresh patty, which one doesn't really want to find. I think they bite you, they itch. They itch horribly. In fact, they scar as well. Let me show you. Would you like to see a scar? It's quite an impressive one, David. Are you ready? That is a tick bite that's scarred on account of my scratching it severely. That was from this summer. I could show you another scar. Unfortunately, it is, rather too close to my nether regions to put on camera, but it's about over here. And it was left, that did give me tick bite fever, and it left an enormous hole there. So that was very unpleasant. But it leaves a hole because you scratch it. It becomes so unbelievably itchy. I'm sure you're all grateful for the fact that I didn't show it to you. David, are you grateful? Yes. Good man. Nina, you say you want to wear long pants when you do these walks. Well, you can, but when it's 40 degrees, it really is very unpleasant. All you need is to check yourself when you get home, maybe have a hot shower. It tends to get rid of all the ticks. But once you've had it once, like I say, in an area, you won't get it again. So it's really not much of an issue. I don't think any of the animals out here get tick bite fever or biliary. They've all got a natural immunity to it. Right, we're now on to the road Elephant Carcass. And this is where we were hoping we might find a few tracks. Along with, whatever else this summer vegetation has to offer us. Which could be a few things. Come over here, David. Let us just quickly show the yellow Commelina as we hand you back over to Jamie and the Nkuhuma Pride.
I don't know which flower James was showing you, but there's some very, very pretty flowers around, and it makes for some very pretty shots. I'll just give you one moment. Thanks very much for that, Orbs. Whoops, spoke over him, never mind. He knows I mean it in spirit. So our lines haven't moved very much at all, which is okay. I think they're going to move further and further into this thicket. They seem to be done for the day. What was I talking about? Oh, yes, I was talking about names of lionesses. We have ways that we refer to the Nkuhumas. So we refer to them as the old lady or scar hip or Nana. She's got sort of several names. And then there's spotty nose or purple eye. And then there's ridge nose. And then there is the Amber Eyes, of course. Amber Eyes' name works quite well. And then, of course, there is the youngest lioness, which is going to cause us immense problems because very shortly the sub-adults of the Nkuhuma Pride are going to graduate to adult status, at which point the youngest lioness is no longer the youngest lioness, quite a hot sentence to say, by any stretch of the imagination. So referring to them by their identifying features is going to start getting tricky. That's something that I will raise and see if we can figure out a way around it. He, of course, not bound by quite the same level of, what is a nice word for it? Politics in the Mara? Gary, you absolutely can name the animals as viewers for your own reference, but let me tell you why we try to sort out naming as amicably as possible. Many years ago, the name Sindile was given to Shadow's cub, leopard cub, and it was given by the viewers and adopted by the Wild Earth guides, and this actually caused great offense within the Sabi Sand because naming a leopard cub is considered to be a great honor within the area, and it's an honor that is treated very seriously and taken very seriously. And as a result, he then ended up being named officially and named Madiba. Now, for various viewers, they didn't necessarily watch every time we told them that his name was Madiba, and thus we had two different names for one leopard, creating absolute confusion. And at the same time, we also found ourselves with some very angry neighbors who were not very impressed with us at all, even though it wasn't really intentional. Hence, James Hendry's insistence whenever he names something George, Charlotte, or Barbara on making sure that everybody knows it is not their official name. So you absolutely can. There's nothing to stop you, and that's sort of how the Nkuhuma's names have, well, names in inverted commas, reference names, have evolved to a point, and we've started using them as well because we're aware of them. And a lot of the Hyena Cup names have slowly evolved through various passionate hyena viewers giving the males, for example, names. So it does happen, and there's nothing wrong with it. We just have to... We're navigating an interesting path here when it comes to naming things, and it's something that I'm working on at the moment, is getting together a full database of our animal characters. It's taking me a while, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't been driving as often, because that's what I've been working on. But once I've got our I's dotted and our T's crossed, then we can get on to the thoughts of naming them. And I don't foresee... And please don't put something up on social media without context, without the context of this conversation, because it's just going to set us back. But I don't see that anybody's going to raise an issue with the Nkuhuma females being named. We just have to figure out how to do it. And I do not see an issue with us naming each individual female, given that we are the only ones who can actually identify each individual female, or some of the only ones. There are very few people around this area that can. So that is my honest and frank answer to the question about naming the lions. Puma then wants to know on the subject of naming, then how come Konuma was renamed Senegal Bushmale? He moved. He moved to a different area of the Sabi Sand, and it was decided that he would be named after the area, and that the name Konuma, just presumably they didn't feel as though it applied to him. And again, people get very worked up and passionate about situations like that. To me, he will always be Konuma, for that is how I know him. But it's easy enough for me to say Konuma / the Senegal Bushmale. The Birmingham boys are also known as the Gowrie males to the south of us. They are not known as the Birmingham boys. So... for some reason, there is something within human nature that divides automatically into us and them. And I fail to be able to explain it to you, but it seems to exist purely on in a geographical sense. And, I mean, is it worth getting too irritated over? I'm not sure it is. I'm really not. It's not worth burning bridges. And so Konuma is now the Senegal Bushmale. Except when, of course, we're talking frankly like this between ourselves, and he becomes Konuma. Shall we move a bit closer, now that we have the lions all to ourselves? Shift and see if we can get a better view. Oh, there's a happy sound. No, absolutely not, Ingrid. Ingrid wants to know if we can feed them, or if we can leave food out for them. First of all, there's no need for us to do it. Some of them are a little bit thin, but they've definitely been in far worse condition. It's by nature. Lions go through cycles. Now, it might sound very cold to the uninitiated. I'm just trying to think where is going to be best here. I might go all the way around and in. To the uninitiated, it might sound very mean to not feed them, but these are wild animals, and nature must be allowed to take its course. We do not want them dependent upon food. It's interfering with nature in a way that would completely upset the balance, and once you've crossed that line, there is no turning back. And you end up with situations where lions come to associate people with food, they become dangerous, they get shot, because they're a risk to people in the area. So no, we don't feed them. We never feed them. And that way, the lions that survive are the strongest genetically out of any of the others. Now, there are certain places where animals are fed, but would still be considered wild. But that's in areas where it's a closed system. It's fenced in, and they cannot move about to get more food, and during the drought, for example. So in those sorts of closed systems, something like a rhino might be fed with lucerne. Lucerne bales might be put down, but that's very different to the Greater Kruger, which is a massive wild area. And, oh, I think I drove through their poo. Oops. And essentially, to interfere in that way, to that level, would be a very dangerous slippery slope. How's that there, Craig? Better? There we go. Shame they're all a bit itchy. I'm not concerned about it. They've been itchy for a while, and they're not showing any signs of getting worse. I think it's just a little bit irritated, their skin. So my plan is to watch them for a little bit longer to see whether or not they get up. Then I'm going to go back to the old hyena den off Zoe's Road and check there. They haven't used that den in years, but given the way that they've been unpredictable at the moment, I'm not convinced that it's not a... Well, basically, I'm convinced that it's a good idea to go and check there. But we'll sit with these sleepy lions for a little bit longer because they're not completely out. When each and every single individual in Kuhuma's got its head down, then it's time for us to go. And we'll leave them to sleep, and then we'll come back towards the end of the drive. I was really hoping they might actually be generous to me and lift up their faces so that I could take some photos of them for our ID kits. Okay. While we sit patiently with our Nkumas to see whether or not they shift about, off you pop back to the Masai Mara with an animal that these lions would really like to see.
Very good. It's always good to be patient, and waiting is very important for us being out here in the bush. Now, I thought we'll have a little bit of a change from the lions, but I have some very good news for all of you. I have been able to identify 100% the den for Kingtail. Kingtail is one female in the sausage tree pride. She's the oldest, and we think she got cubs, but that nobody have seen. I have only had them from a distance, trying to call the mother, but she was nursing them, but the thickets are just so dense, we could not see anything. And I thought, before the wildebeest come back, maybe the next 5-6 months, these animals are what will keep the sausage tree pride going. Buffaloes. The view of the Mara Triangle with all the thorn trees and those two big trees you saw on the right there, which are called fig trees, is just fantastic. These are the African Cape buffaloes, and the white birds you see there, we call them the cattle egrets. Just hitchhiking for the moment, because these buffaloes need to move, and once they move, these birds will not be on top of these buffaloes. They'll be down in the grass, because as the buffaloes move, eating or just walking around, they disturb lots of insects in the grass, and that's what these egrets feed on. Bless you. That was Bungay, and he's sneezing because of the grass, or the red oat grass you see here, have a lot of pollen going in the air. And this is the third time he has sneezed in under 5 minutes. Hopefully he's going to survive the rest of the drive. Funny, I remember when I was in college, I was doing Spanish, and when someone sneezes and you say, bless you, in Spanish you say Jesus. And I was surprised when I saw the spelling for Jesus, which is J-E-S-U-S, which to me is Jesus. But I thought there's a lot of dynamics in all languages in the world, that one word may mean something different. Jesus in Spanish is bless you, and of course in English, Jesus means something different. Well, the mountain or the escarpment you see in the background there is the very famous Ololola escarpment. And Bungay tells me every day he sees that escarpment, it makes his day. But today I'm telling him it's not about the escarpment, it's about the lion crabs, which to me have made my morning. And I'm trying to convince Bungay the same. Ololola escarpment is about 30 kilometers or so long. I'm talking about 20 miles odd long. And it forms one of the boundaries of the Mara Triangle. Many times you hear us talking about the Mara Triangle, and because the game reserve itself takes the shape of a triangle, and that escarpment you see there is one of the boundaries. And the other boundary is the very famous Mara River. You have heard of Mara River when it comes to the migration, as the wildebeest come crossing the migration. And then the other side of that triangle is the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania. So that's why we keep talking of the Mara Triangle. Make 1011 what animals live on top there. I would guess animals, even like elephants, I'll tell you, elephants look very big, but elephants are some of the animals that will be walking on very tight angles. So we have seen elephants going that high, and even on the other side of the escarpment, we have seen giraffes doing the same, and even buffaloes. But I would say small little guys like dick-dicks, there's so many of them up there. And occasionally we also see the mountain redbacks also, make 1011, living up there. So we all got those sorts of animals, but I would also think we might also have some primates there. I'm talking of monkeys like the Columbus monkeys or red-tailed monkeys or the blue monkeys that will be living there. And of course, loads of birds that will also be up there. Well, it's time for me now to move on. I'll swing by the lioness I saw earlier with her 4 cubs, find out whether she's still in the same position or gone. And we'll have one more look of that lioness with her very playful cubs. But I think my friend Ollie is talking of botany this morning.
Good morning, hello, my name is Ollie and welcome to SafariLive again. I've changed the mic pad with Malum James, then now I'm here with this beautiful flower. There's a lot happening around here, but let's start with this flower. This beautiful flower is called a morning glory. I don't know why they've called it morning glory, but it closes during the night, and then when the sun comes out in the morning, it opens. So that's why it's still opening, because the sunlight hasn't pierced through the clouds. As you can see now, it's so cloudy. Then there's a grasshopper on the other side of this plant. You can see it here, David. This grasshopper, it's busy foraging. And then on far left ahead of us there's a lot happening. I saw the nymphs of the assassin box, if I'm not mistaken, but I couldn't.
Twig wilter.
Yes, look what we have found. This is what we have found, and the same ones, but they are on the other side. Let me go and show you guys. Here. This is what is happening right now. These things are the nymphs. It means they are still growing, and they have incomplete metamorphosis because they only have 3 life stages. The nymphs represents the adults, so that's why sometimes they have a competition when it comes to what they feed on. There's a lot happening in these grasses. Diane, what a nice question this morning. Do I prefer walking or driving? I prefer both driving and walking, but the most exciting time for me is when I walk, because we have to see all the things we miss or we pass when we are driving. Just like this small box we have here, you can't actually notice this when you are in a vehicle. So I enjoy walking than driving in most cases. So, oh, look, he's still around and he's defecating while this guy is walking. I don't know. Look at this one. Look here. And there. Nice one. I don't think my skin will react to this. I don't think they are poisonous or venomous. That's why I'm with this guy. I'm giving him a lift. Let me put him here. So don't forget, for any questions or comments, you can type #SafariLive on Twitter account or YouTube chat stream. Let's stop and listen, because I love doing birding. Yes, Chris, it is much better and good to walk before it gets so hot. But I love the sunlight and I love getting hot, because it makes you sweaty and you lose some calories and while walking. So I'm listening to the birds. You can hear like tip, 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 tip. That's a Tony Flankprenia, a small bird that loves being in a thicket. And while I'm trekking, you have to check the wind direction regularly. You have to listen to the sounds around you. You have to see whether the tracks are, where are they heading, and where and how many animals are there. So while I'm walking and following the cat, maybe we'll find it. Let's go to Jamie on the other side of where I am.
Ole is absolutely right in that you do see so much more when you're out on foot in a different way. You get to really appreciate the true little details of the ecology of this area, ticks included, although as most of us know, they're not one of our favorite things out here, but apparently absolutely necessary to the ecosystem as it stands. Every single Nkuhuma now has got its head down. One's resting its paw up on the tree in a true state of comfort. And I think what I'm going to do is, it's still chilly, so I'm reluctant to leave them completely unattended, but I think after this I'm going to just go check out that hyena den on Zoe's Road and then come back. We're on Zoe's Road as it is, so it's not exactly a long round trip for me to make. It'll take me, the road's a bit worn away, so it takes some tricky driving, but it shouldn't take me much longer than 15 minutes to go and check and see if it's active or not. Because I promise you, I saw Pretty come out. And this is completely opposite to where we thought the den would be. We thought that perhaps the den was on the corner of Juma or in Torchwood. It's difficult. It's difficult to know. They cover such huge amounts of ground. She might have been hanging out around Torchwood when Lauren saw her because there was a leopard kill there. We just don't know. There's a couple of hyena tracks on Zoe's Road, so it's possible they're here. It's guesswork. Guesswork until one of them pops out and leads us straight there. I am certain that the direction that she was going, which was west, is unlikely to be where the den is. I have absolutely no idea who that question was from, but the question was about whether or not lions will use mud to protect themselves or protect their skin. And the answer to that is no, not really. Not in the same way buffalo and elephants do. They don't particularly like the feel of mud caked in their fur. They're obviously much furrier than something like an elephant or a rhinoceros, and probably furrier than a buffalo as well. They don't really like the feeling, like all cats, they don't really like the feeling of wet mud. Hassan is an exception. He doesn't seem to mind draping his tail in water every now and again. But there's very few instances where lions will actually wallow in water or cover themselves in mud. They prefer to lick or to flick with their tails and their ears in order to keep the parasites off their skin. There's an exception to that. The only time I've ever seen this was when Mr. Dyson, Scott Dyson, came back after a day in the Mara with photos of lionesses wallowing in water. So you never know, but no, typically lions will not use mud. Right, well, perhaps using mud is not a bad idea when out on bushwalk. Protect themselves from all those biting insects.
I was walking. This is a young chap, which is called a terrapin. But I'm not too sure whether this is a marsh terrapin or not far from him. I think it's a marsh terrapin. Because I can't see this guy. Oh, I can't see this guy because he's walking left, right, center and is trying to camouflage and hide from me. So I was saying, Lauren advised me not to pick this young chap because he's soft. And then when I touch it, it will feel some pain because the shell is still fragile at this stage. Thank you, Lauren, for such an advice. Hello. Oh, shame. It feels so stressed now. So let's leave the guy. I have another thing interesting here because yes, I also love the terrapin, but the thing is, it looks so stressed because it started running now. So let me leave it, and we have something interesting. So what happened earlier on? Uncle James found tick, and then he said he found this particular tick. Sorry, and then he said it's a female, and then we realized that he said it's a male. Sorry, and then we realized that he made a mistake there. So, and then on our way, we saw this couple here. This one, it's a male, and this one is a female. You can see the coloration is different from the two. And this female one, I gave it a name, which is a rhino tick, and this one, the male one, is a leopard tick. Those names, this leopard name is mine because of the formation and the coloration. It just resembles the leopard, so I'm giving it a name. So I wonder, there was a mating session going on right here, and then I'm sorry to disturb you guys. So I wanted to show you the difference between the genders. So I will leave these two couple and finish whatever they were doing or whatever they've started. I hope you will have a lot of young ones. So while the couple is busy doing whatever they are doing, let's go to the Mara with the lion cubs.
Anakuja. Well done, Zoli. I mean, looking or talking of ticks, very unusual to see lions with ticks, but once in a while, we have seen them having one or two ticks on their bodies. And unlike the big herbivores, buffaloes and rhinos, zebras and wildebeest, we have seen oxpeckers removing their ticks. I do not know who removed the ticks from the bodies of these lions. They continue being playful as before, these cubs, of Mitty, and for those of you who would be joining us now, this one female is called Mitty, and she belongs to the Sausage Tree Pride, which are always 5 girls, and she got 4 cubs with herself. She was just nursing them a few minutes ago, and I think now she knows they are full and content, and the only thing she would leave them to do is just to play, as she keeps a close eye on them. Pretty special to see this. And there was a male that's part of this pride, I would say, a coalition that's not very far from here, who is keeping an eye on these cubs, making sure no other males comes around. And remember, should you have any questions or comments, you may send them through #SafariLive on Twitter. Hello. We give her the name Mitty. Tom, very good question. Can the cubs climb trees? Not as yet, but anything low, small logs, you'd see them trying to jump over them. And actually the base of the tree they are now with their mother, 2 of them were trying just to stretch their feet and going up. But Tom, as it is now, they can't climb any trees. And I'll tell you, at their age, definitely not. Ideally, lions are not very well equipped to climb trees, as much as once in a while we have seen them going up trees, but not very high, or not as leopards. But Tom, should they want to have a vantage point, to look for prey from a distance, for example, at the moment the grass is too high, they have done that. And as I might have said, this particular pride is called the Sausage Tree because they love climbing trees. And one particular type of tree that's called the Sausage Tree, they love climbing that particular tree. These cubs, maybe give them another 1 year or so, they'll be able to do that. Now, the one that's trying to play with the mother now is the weakest of the 4. And it's so funny, yes, to see them trying to catch the tail of the mother and playing with it. Not sure they know what part of, of the body they are playing with, but I'm sure they may not bite it. But the mother is enjoying every time they try to bite her tail. You can hear small, yeah. They sometimes bite them by the neck. If, say, for example, they want to relocate the den from one area to another, they normally catch them by the neck and relocate them. But at this age, they'll just tag along with the mother if she'll be like, we need to move to a new area, or I'm going to have some food. I got some buffalo brought down. If you want to come with me, they now can comfortably walk. But the first, I would say, 10 days or so, or 15 days, if the mother has to relocate them from one den to another, they'll always hold them by their necks. And that will do a few times, just to make sure they keep them away from detection of there would be other predators, either like hyenas or leopards. Hello, Mitty. So she got herself 4 cubs. We think she did very well. And I've been debating whether this is her first litter or second litter. Donald, the smallish one we have not been able to identify, but we have been thinking the last few minutes we thought with the Bungay, he is a male. He is a male. And then if that's the case, then we can say for 100%, we got 2 males, and then we are yet to identify, Donald, the other 2, whether they are also males or female. Now, Donald, there are 5 females in total in this particular pride, and there are 2 other females that got cubs. And apparently, or, coincidentally, those 3 cubs of those 2 other females, they are all boys. So one female that has 1 left lost 1 some times back, and he was apparently also a male. So I will not be surprised if these all 4 turn out to be males, and maybe we shall be trying to find out why are they getting more males than females, and then that will take us to the chromosomes class of XX, XY, and finding out, why are they getting more males than females. So that will be another dynamics altogether to know exactly what's happening. So I want to give you one more look of this. Aligal was her question, whether Kingtail has cubs also. Not sure that was the question, but if that was the question, Kingtail has cubs. I got Aligal and the last bit of the question, but Kingtail has cubs that we have not been able to see. Michelle, I hope that was the question. And if that's the case, the first lion. So we'll have now a total of 3 lionesses here with cubs. The one you see, Aligal there, that's called Miti, because she loves climbing trees. And Miti is a local Swahili word that means trees. You see, they still keep playing with that tail. And then there's another female called Limpy. Limpy got 1 cub. And I remember, I think it was Tom who was asking whether, they love climbing, lions, cubs can climb trees. You see, logs that low, being curious and trying to investigate or finding out, they can do that. And then there's another female which you haven't named, that got 2 other cubs. Michelle, good question. What these lionesses in general will do, if they identify a very safe place, Michelle, they will always tend to rely in that particular den, if it's a den. Because if they leave them there, they go hunting, make a kill, eat and come back, and they find they're still very safe, they'll tend to keep using the same spot. But should they be worried of the spot they're leaving the cubs, they'll definitely keep moving them to new areas. But they need to know where they leave them. There are no concerns of leopards or hyenas or wild dogs. Look at this one, how she's trying to show the mother she can be good. The challenge will be how she'll go down. Sometimes you've found them, it's easy for them to go up logs of trees, but on their way down, they suffer. I'm not sure she is very comfortable at the moment. And look at that belly, full of milk. And she's looking down, and hopefully she does not jump, because if you jump down, that will not be very good for you. Otherwise, the mom might whack you and tell you, what do you think you're doing? You might fracture your leg or your feet, so you better stay up there. And the way you went up, try and come down. I'm sure the mother knows she is up there, but not bothered. So the direction she is looking at, that is where Kingtail is. And most likely they're staying very close to each other near the den. And this is what we would call alaga. And that's where she disappears, going down. And let's see how this cub will maneuver. Well, she got 4-wheel drive, gear to engage, to descend from that log. I think she's doing very well. And maybe the final bit will be a jump. And very quickly she goes to join the mother. Lovely. What's happening is it's warming up now, and because it's warming up, chances are home, stay in the shade for the better part of the day, and they'll be coming out later when it cools off. And what does that mean for us? Is also for us to keep moving and maybe find out where the other 3 girls could be, or maybe look for the males of Old Ndonya Pike. How lovely was that? Okay. All right. There's a friend of mine who is doing a lot of TikTok tracking today in Juma. Let's go back to him.
Today and this morning, it's a tick morning day, and because we are seeing more ticks than birds today, so we have found these 2 male rhino ticks. They're in a conversation. I don't know what are they talking about. Maybe they're asking each other where they're going to get the girls, or they've seen the girls around. Then we've seen one girl floating with James, and then maybe one of the tick will have this long distance from this area to that particular area. Hopefully they will also find themselves with the ladies before the end of the day. So on the other side, we have a beetle which is chilling there. I think it's waiting for the sun to come out because it's not active as it looks. But a beautiful looking beetle. It's my first time seeing this in the bush. And most definitely it's Insects Day today. And look at the curve of the wings. It's hard enough, and it's more good looking, like the ticks. It has this black and orange like color, same as the ticks. And it's sitting on a silver cluster leaf tree, which is known to be smelly during the flowering season. And there's a lot happening here. David, if you're down there, come this side and see what's happening here. I think it's a spider or something, because it has. I can see a web here. Maybe there's an egg or eggs, or maybe a spider in there. So I don't want to open and disturb. Joe, what a nice question. Do I have a favorite insect? No, Joe, insects are so plenty, and there are a lot of insects, so I love them all. And I've been reading about insects these days, and they have this interesting and incredible life cycle. They have an incomplete life cycle, and then they have a complete life cycle, which it makes them survive differently in their wild. So just like what we saw earlier on, the nymphs. The nymphs are these babies, I can say that are these babies of insects that they resemble the adult. So that's an incomplete life cycle. So the complete life cycle, we have the eggs, we have the pupa, we have the, what's that? We have sort of, I'll recall this name, it's just in my head, but I can't recall it. So the young one doesn't rely on the same thing an adult relies on. So they look way too different. So that's why the complete life cycle is more better than an incomplete one. We are still on search of a spotted cat, but we are not lucky yet to find any fresh tracks. Hopefully it will show itself to us. Flowers. Maybe we might see a butterfly or an insect again. We have a whole bunch of flowers which are from the devil thorn. Yeah, so these flowers are yellowish, and they have thorns, so that's why it's called a devil thorn. But we have quite few types of devil thorns, and then the other ones are like large and small devil thorns. So this one is normally called a devil thorn. So while I'm searching for an insect or butterfly or anything that will catch my eye, let's go to Jamie and have an update.
Lots and lots of insects about at the moment after all the rain. Last night was ridiculous. These little blister beetles, known as, we call them stink bugs. Tiny, tiny little black things that spray a type of acid onto your skin and create a little bit of irritation. Not nearly as bad as some of the larger meloid beetles that really cause nasty blisters. This is just a kind of an itch. But, you know, the name, stink bug, gives it away. They absolutely stink. And last night, it was like it was raining stink bugs. These tiny little black bugs with black beetles falling onto the corrugated iron roofs. It was ridiculous. It sounded like rain. I haven't seen a population explosion like this since sometime 2012, 13, around there somewhere. There are just stink bugs everywhere. In the cars, when you go to bed at night. Last night I pulled one out of my hair and it was covered in stink bug juice. The only thing that encourages me is that everybody at the moment is covered in stink bug juice. So I went to go check the old hyena den off Zoe's Road. That's a no. It's collapsed completely. There's not a single active tunnel there. So they're definitely not using that particular termite mound. Whether or not they have a den in that area, it's entirely possible. I'm thinking that we haven't checked Mvubu in a while. You know, we're going off the fact that there's a bit of a hyena activity around Torchwood, but they could equally just be walking around there because that's where the leopards have been. And there have been lots of kills around. But for now, unfortunately, it is far too far for me to go to either of those places. So we're going to head back towards the Nkuhumas. I'm reluctant to leave them for too long because it is nice and cool. So apparently Jason says that where he's from, stink bugs are green in color. Okay, I wonder if it's the same family. I would assume so. I don't know where you're from, but I would assume the same family, or at least the same sort of order of insects. Ours are definitely a beautiful, shiny black color. It's always entertaining watching people who are not accustomed to seeing such things try to deal with them. I'm just going to ease my way in here. Nana was here. I don't know where she's gone. So while I do, off you go to the Mara to join David and an elephant.
Very good, Jamie. Well done. Today, I think you are all smiles, at least with the Nkuhuma Lions, from the frustrations you went through yesterday. Well, I've left my meaty lioness with her cubs because she went in that lager, which meant, you know, David, enough of me today. See you later this afternoon or tomorrow. But the Mara is always full of game. If it's not lions, then it's elephants. Fantastic light. As you can see, these are three boys, but don't want to call them boys. I want to call them men because they're huge gentlemen, huge, fully grown males. Not sure to say a coalition of elephants like a coalition of lions, because I have been seeing every time I've seen these males, the three of them together, not with any other. Of course, you would say a herd of elephants, and I'm almost tempted to call them a coalition of Ellis, because these three boys or three bulls are always together. One of them, Bungel show the one on the right, either it had a little issue with its trunk, because African elephant, if you look at the very tip of the trunk, it's got like two projections. Or they normally got two projections, like a finger. This one, if you look carefully, it's like chopped off. And it struggles once in a while, or always, when it's getting the grass out of the ground. So that's why I've come to note or to follow these elephants and to know them very well. Cattle egrets in the grass there, as usual, like the ones we saw earlier with the buffalo. These ellis keep moving. They keep disturbing the grass. Nana, how are you? Have I ever seen a white elephant? Nana, I'll be very honest. No. And Nana, I'll give you back your question. Have you ever seen one? Please let me know. Same way you ask the question, #SafariLive. What Anna have seen, I have seen a white buffalo, and I call it an albino buffalo. And that albino buffalo, I saw it in a place called Lake Naivasha. And Lake Naivasha is very close to where I come from, a place called Lake Nakuru, very famous for flamingos. And that's where I saw the white buffalo, which I'm not sure it's still alive or not. We thought it was an albino. But a white elephant, no, I'll be honest, zero. Not that one I've heard of. So I'll be waiting for your answer. #SafariLive on Twitter. And let David know whether you have seen a white elephant yourself and where you have seen it. I've also seen a white gorilla, but that was in Spain. That was way back. And I also think it was also an albino that was, in Spain, but not a white elephant. Could just hear them uprooting the grass, massively eating lots of food in a day to make sure the body frame or that body morphology remains at ease 100%. So boys tend to tag along together, or the bulls. You'll always see them joining the females when they're mating. Sherry, you're impressed by a white buffalo. I had taken a photo of that buffalo way back, and it became a celebrity, I can tell you, Sherry, that white buffalo, because people would come from all over the world to see it. It was my first buffalo, and I haven't seen another one. So, again, we are looking at genetic issues there, and albinism is in every, I would say, living creatures, We have also seen albinism in lions. Hello. What did you think? We have been here all along, and I have not seen you behave like that. Can't you not trust me? None of the three is in must, so I would assume all the testosterone hormones are just within the normal limits. Ooh la la. Relax, stay where you are, and just keep enjoying your food. Every time you see them shaking their heads like that, he's always like, "¿Qué pasa? What's up?" But oh good. It's only when they're in must they tend to be a bit grumpy because they have lots of imbalance with their hormones. Trian, yes, they weigh a lot, and we have seen some of these elephants, some of them going up to 10 kilos in terms of weight. I'm talking of 20 plus or 30 pounds in weight. And apparently, we have an adage in my village that there's no one elephant, regardless of how heavy the tusks are unable to lift their tusks. And the adage translates into whatever problems one has in the family, you'll always be able to hold your, to carry on problems without having any issues. Hello, Mr. Elephant. How are you today? You better join the rest and just keep eating. Just comes trying to investigate who we are, what you're made of. Are you happy? So they'll always read. Very intelligent animals. I've said this many times before. They're my favorite animals because an elephant will always keep you engaged. All right. Happy now? Want to go join your friends and keep eating? Huge tasks he got by his turn a day. Mary, yes. We have seen baby elephants that are pink, and especially when they're young, when you look behind their ears, they're pinkish, but that pinkish will always disappear as they grow older. And what you have thought, sometimes that is some color issue or some, dermatologists have always, it's kind of pigmentation they get, but as they mature, it tends to disappear. But when young, yes, we have seen them being pinkish. But all elephants in general, the calves, they got pink ears, especially behind the ears when they are all young, and as they mature, they get that grayish color or dark color you see on that male Ellie that's just turning around to go join his other friends and enjoying this green lush grass. Lioness, have I ever seen lions mating? Very many times. We have seen that happening a lot here in the African bush, and it's always quite, how do I put it? It's always quite an exercise. You'd imagine the size of an elephant, like that big bull you see there, trying to mount a female, and when you'd see their penis coming out, they come out like they're going backwards. It's always, quite, I would say, quite an exercise for them to succeed and actually mate to finish. So I have seen a few times. Who knows? Could be today in the afternoon or could be today on my way out on the drive. The mating that we see almost every other day will be with lions. I'm sure the other day the Niconicomas were mating and either Jimmy or who was it was able to see them mating. Same case here in the Mara, we'll always see lions mating so very many times. The bulls now are changing direction. They could be going to look for other food to feed on. So elephants, mixed feeders, grass, trees, leaves, tree barks, bushes, a lot. They usually have a lot of choice to eat. And you have never seen elephants struggling in sustaining their bodies because they have a wide choice of food. See how green the grass is after the short rains that we had that ended around December, shortly after Christmas. We had a bit of it also at the beginning of January. Massive, huge mammals, to see them in such beautiful savanna. Very good. So many things will happen. I mean, elephants, out of experience, we are very different depending on how we tackle every situation of animals, should they charge at us or something. But elephants, personally, what I've noticed, if you stand your ground, so long as you have not invaded an elephant space, we have seen them coming so close to you and opening their ears, their trunks are ready to charge. But what I've always done, I've always stood my ground and the elephants will stop right there. Because they also won't understand. This big beast here is also very courageous. He doesn't want to move. And ideally they back off. My theory here is you try to go away. You empower that elephant and he thinks I'm winning and he might come for you. And the three incidents I've had of elephants charging or hurting people or attacking vehicles is where maybe someone have thought, it's coming, I have to go. So personally, I've always stood my ground and I've seen them coming so close and stop there. I can't remember which guy this was. He was on a walk in South Africa and he was charged by an elephant and he was on foot. And as the elephant was coming to him, he stood his ground and elephant charged, came so close, he did not move. It charged again, I think up to 10 or so, 5 meters away. He stood his ground and the elephant went away. That was very exciting to see. Well, I'm not sure the Niconicomas are going to charge Jamie this morning.
Cool. So we are back with the very, very flat Niconicomas. I didn't want to leave them just because it's still quite chilly this morning. And it's been fascinating watching the way that the dynamics within this pride have played out. I really thought that the Mangeni male, once accepted by the other male, would be treated with equal acceptance by the females. And I've seen one or two of them approach him quite comfortably. So I was quite surprised this morning when Amber Eyes started growling at him. But if she's pregnant, that would make absolute sense because she doesn't know him, not related to her. And that automatically makes him a potential threat to her cubs if she is pregnant. And I'm pretty certain that she is. So if that's the case, it might explain her antagonism. And then the rest of the pride will pick up on that. And they, of course, are more likely to support her than they are going to step up to his defense. We thought a couple of months ago, I've just said it's quite cool this morning, but I'm going to take my jacket off because it's actually much warmer than it was. We thought a couple of months ago that it was an almost certainty that given the regular sightings of the Talamati males with the Nkuhumas, that the young Nkuhuma male was going to join a coalition with them and that they were going to move off together. But the young Nkuhuma is still a little bit young for that process to start. He's not quite ready to leave this pride. I mean, he's not even 2 years old yet. So maybe it was just that the Talamatis were that much older and ready to move off on their path of independence. But if that didn't happen, then I think there's a question as to whether or not the Mangeni male will actually settle in into a coalition with the Nkuhuma. I think he will. I really think that's going to be the case. And I think eventually in the next 6 months or so, or next year or so, they'll probably move off together. I hope that's the case. I really, really do. Not an easy life out here for a young, lone male lion. Having a bit of company is a deal breaker often as to whether or not you're going to be, or they're going to be able to find and maintain a territory in the same way that Junior did. So I hope that's the case. No, Nancy, I'm hoping that this is Amber Eyes' year. So Nancy wants to know if Amber Eyes has ever raised a set of cubs to adulthood. No, she hasn't. She has not. She hasn't quite made it to that point. Unfortunately, most of her cubs have died at quite early stages of infancy and haven't really, I mean, we've had very few encounters with Amber Eyes' cubs. I think she's had 4 litters now that she hasn't managed to get past a certain age, and that's through no fault of her own, various different reasons. Hyenas probably would be the main one. At the time that most of them were born, it was a relatively stable territorial situation here, so it's not as though it was in the midst of a male lion takeover. But I'm hoping that this is going to be Amber Eyes' year, that she is going to succeed, along with the youngest Nkuhuma. So while our lions snooze away and we wait for them to decide whether or not they're going to get up, off you pop back to Bushwalk to look at the smaller things.
Yeah, we start here. Look what we have. Very interesting thing. It's only seen it in the videos. We have a caterpillar here. David, take on the side.
Yeah, got it.
Yes, but they are not from the same species. Just that I need to show you how these things changes, the life cycle they go through. This is a caterpillar. You can see it's busy feeding on doing its own thing there. So this caterpillar, it will change. Then it will turn into a cocoon. Inside the cocoon, it will be totally liquid, and then it will change from that to a butterfly. So what's happening now is the stage where a caterpillar is changing into a pupa, which is going to be inside a cocoon, a chrysalis. So come to the side and see what is happening. Here is it. And look what is happening right now. This is amazing. This is magic. And it will take some time to change into that particular stage it's supposed to change to. And I really can't tell which species this, because this thing, it looks so it looks so wet, and there's fluid that's coming out of it. So it is changing stage. And so I also have something interesting on the side of this tree. So let's go to the road, and I want to show you some beetles, the flightless beetles. They feed on a scat, which is a carnivore scat mainly, because where is it? Nature, it's amazing. MGM, yes, you're right. Nature is so amazing. It's showing us all. Oh, here they are. You can see these are called beetles. Ooh, the smell. Oh my goodness, it's so smelly. I don't know how they survive around this sket. These are called carcass beetles, so that's why they're around it down. So you can see they're burying themselves. As I've said earlier on, that they are flightless, so they need to bury themselves to hide because they can't fly away from whatever they are. You can see this one. It's sticking itself in the ground. It means they are full now, or there's nothing that is left for them to eat. And on this other side, we have the ants. Davisito, you can see these ants are also in a feeding mode. They are dragging an insect. You can see over here. Yo, I can stand the smell here. This is nature at its best. Oh, let's go to this other beetle and see, and then it's in the ground. Oh, look at this. But it's not aware that it's not. The ants are trying to grab and this dead insect because they will feed on it, but they won't feed here. They will take this to their hole. What they do is if this carcass they are dragging is heavy, they will cut it down and then into smaller pieces so that they will take it to their house. But I've seen these guys, like the small ants, dragging a heavy stuff. So they can lift things that are 2-3 times their own body weight. So and they can go up to 100 to 1,000 times their body weight. It means these guys are so strong. Oh, I can imagine. I can't even lift 70 kgs. But there's another thing interesting here. Look, cats, they not feed on flesh only. Look at this. We have grasses in the sket. So it means, you can see, we saw Hosanna yesterday. Is it day before yesterday while I was live? He was feeding in the grasses. So that's what happens after eating grass. So it's not a digestible material. It will come as it is. Or sometimes it will regurgitate. Sorry about that. So what's happening now is nature is showing me insects this morning, and what I've just saw back there, it's so amazing. An insect changing into another thing. So earlier on I've mentioned that we have the complete metamorphosis and incomplete metamorphosis. What I was trying to say is that the insects that they have complete metamorphosis, they don't compete. The adults, they don't compete with the larvae because they feed on different things. But these ones with incomplete metamorphosis, the nymphs feeds the same thing with the adults. So there's a competition within the species. So while I'm looking for another interesting insects, let's go to Jamie with the lions.
Cool. So, well, Oli looks at the tiny things and the ticks. We are looking at tick-infested Nkuhumas. Not infested. They, of course, will always have a natural number of ticks and parasites on them. It's part of the whole process. But as soon as an animal becomes ill or in bad condition, that's when their tick load doubles or triples what it normally should be. And I think it's just because the animal doesn't have enough energy to groom itself. Still, only little signs of stirring, and only one lion at a time, so I think that our gamble might not have paid off. I think they're going to be here. The good news is that they'll be here for this afternoon's safari. There's definitely a reason to join us once again this afternoon, as they'll be off on the hunt once again. I've been listening to see if I can hear any updates on big buffalo herds, because that's, of course, what they will be looking for. Lioness wants to know if I think that any of the other females are pregnant. Yes, I think that it is a very, very strong possibility, particularly the youngest female as well as the ridge-nosed female, as those are the two that we've seen mating most frequently. I definitely think that there's a possibility that that's the case. But if they are pregnant, it's earlier stages than amber eyes. So all that leaves is the purple-eyed lioness, and she could easily be pregnant as well. We haven't seen her all the time. So she's been missing from a few of the Nkuhuma sightings, so it's possible that she's pregnant. And then the oldest lioness, and I'm hoping that the oldest lioness isn't pregnant. She's not really in a condition to support a pregnancy at this stage in her life. Not that she's too old, but she's very, very malnourished. After trying to heal from that wound for the last year and a half, it's taken a massive toll on her body. And I don't think a pregnancy would be ideal for her right now. So I'm hoping that she's actually not fallen pregnant. I haven't seen her mating either. I haven't personally. It doesn't mean that she hasn't, but I definitely haven't seen her mating. Heads up. A couple of heads up. I've heard something. And they're looking across in the direction of the silver clusterleaf thicket. I have, on many occasions, actually, in this exact spot, found myself trapped off-road with the Nkuhumas trying to follow them hunting. At night, you can't find your way back to the road. It's a veritable forest around this area of silver cluster leaves. It's a massive seep line. And as a result, you can find yourself well and truly disoriented and battling to find... I always know where the road is. I just don't always know how to get there. Caroline, they are hungry. They could use a meal. They're not as hungry as the last time that I saw them. The last time that I saw them, their bellies were positively pasted to their spines. They were so hungry. So they've eaten something at some point. It's obviously not a big meal, or we would have heard of it. It's not a buffalo or anything like that. But they have eaten, and yes, they could use another meal once again. So they will be hungry. The larger this pride gets, the hungrier they're going to be. Because unless they manage to secure themselves buffalo regularly, an antelope really doesn't go all that far. An impala is basically gone in 2 bites. The same applies to something like a nyala. Even a kudu for this many lions is not a particularly good meal. So they really need buffalo, or they need to learn to start hunting giraffe. I have never seen the Nkuhumas hunt giraffe. It's fascinating. I think that it's, I don't know, I think that some prides are just better at hunting giraffe than others. We know that the ones in the Mara do. Where I used to work, the lion prides were experts at taking down large giraffe, fully grown giraffe, not baby giraffe. There's a little boy. Oh, getting a snarl from one of the lionesses. Go say hello to your mum. She could use some love. Fern, it's a good question as to whether or not the fact that the females are pregnant and potentially will have cubs might force the young males out. I'm not sure yet. I think certainly the Mangeni male might find himself as unwelcome as he was in the very start. And the lionesses are defensive even around territorial males. So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out. Remember the Birmingham boys? When the Nkuhumas first had cubs, they were often fighting. And the lionesses would turn around and snap at the males, and the males would then snap at each other. And there was a lot of disruption when those cubs were born. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. It's going to be interesting to see. What I really am going to do as soon as the safari ends is take pictures of the Mangeni male to make sure that I can identify him in case some of the other mangy ones come back. However, that does bring us to the end of this sunrise safari. All that's left is for us to say a big thank you to all of you for joining us. Thank you for your questions and your comments, even if you were keeping track of how many animals I found you. I will catch you again on the sunset safari. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy your day.